My name is Danielle W. Hake, and I'm 36 years old. I got the text while sitting in a client meeting. My phone buzzed, and I glanced down like it was nothing, expecting a calendar reminder or a spam call. But it was my husband, Victor, 34, blowing up our marriage and weaponizing our kids in one message. I'm taking Emma and Jake to my parents and filing for full custody. Don't try to contact us. A lawyer will be in touch. Emma is 7, Jake is 5, the lights of my life. And he was just taking them. My client must have seen my face change because he stopped mid-sentence and asked if everything was okay. I excused myself, walked to the bathroom, and read the message 3 more times, each time hoping I'd misread it. I didn't. I typed one word back, noted, because I refused to give him the reaction he wanted. Then I stared at the screen long enough to feel my hands go cold. I called my sister Camille, who works as a paralegal, and I said, "Can you meet me at my house in an hour? It's an emergency." Camille didn't ask questions. She just said, "I'm on my way." Victor thought he was declaring war from a position of power. What he didn't know was that 6 months ago, when he started acting strange, late nights, secret phone calls in the garage, sudden guys' night trips that came with hotel charges and vague explanations, I installed nanny cams in our home. Not to spy on him for fun, I was worried about the kids. He'd been drinking more, and I needed to know they were safe when I wasn't home. The cameras were tiny, built into normal objects, a fake plant in the living room, a clock in the kitchen, a picture frame in the hallway. Common areas only, not bedrooms, not bathrooms, completely legal in a shared home. At first, the footage was just disappointing. Victor day drinking while the kids asked for lunch. Victor snapping at Emma for asking for help with homework because he was busy, even though he was scrolling on his phone. Victor passing out on the couch at 2 p.m. while Jake cried because he'd wet himself and couldn't find clean clothes. I saved everything. Not because I wanted to destroy him, but because I didn't trust his version of reality anymore. Then I caught the phone call. Victor on speaker with someone, laughing, saying, "No, my idiot wife has no clue. She'll pay child support and alimony forever while I live my best life with you." I remember standing in my own kitchen watching that clip and realizing he wasn't spiraling, he was planning. The worst footage was 3 weeks ago. Victor's friend Brittany coming over during the day while the kids were at school. What happened on my living room couch was not a friendly visit, multiple times. And the detail that made my stomach turn was the necklace he had given me for our anniversary, hanging around Brittany's neck like it belonged to her. I hadn't confronted him yet. I'd been stupidly thinking about counseling, about a conversation, about handling it like adults. But he didn't want an adult conversation. He wanted a custody battle he thought he'd win by playing the victim first. Camille arrived at my house, and I showed her the text. Then I opened my laptop and pulled up the footage. Her jaw dropped. She kept whispering, "No way, no way," like saying it softly would make it less real. Then she looked at me and said, This is everything. You need a real attorney, not me." And she gave me a name, Melissa Hartley. Bulldogish in court, ruthless when kids are involved. I called Melissa's office and said it was an emergency custody situation. They got me in that afternoon. Melissa watched the clips without blinking. The drinking, the neglect, the affair, the phone call about money. When it ended, she folded her hands and said, "Ms. Hake, I've seen a lot of custody cases. This is one of the clearest I've encountered. He's attempting parental alienation, but he did you a favor by putting his threats in writing." I asked her what I should do, because part of me still wanted to call Victor and scream until my throat bled. Melissa's voice stayed calm. "Nothing. Let him think he's winning. When his lawyer contacts us, we respond appropriately." So I went home and waited. Not because I was helpless, but because the trap was already set. And Victor had no idea he'd walked right into it. Tuesday passed in a blur. I kept my phone face down on my desk and did my job like muscle memory could carry me through shock. By Wednesday morning, it rang. A man with a polished voice and a last name that sounded expensive introduced himself as Richard Peaton from Peaton and Associates. He said he represented Victor Hake in the matter of custody regarding Emma and Jake. He spoke slowly, confidently, like he expected me to crumble. His client, he said, was seeking full custody with supervised visitation for me, along with child support and spousal maintenance. Supervised visitation, like I was a danger to my own children. I told him my attorney would contact him and ended the call before he could finish his rehearsed speech. Peaton tried again an hour later, leaving a voicemail heavy with condescension. He said Victor had documented my absence from the home, my prioritization of work over family, my emotional unavailability. He said they had a strong case. I forwarded the voicemail to Melissa and didn't reply. She texted back one line, "Send him everything." We didn't send all of it, not at first. Melissa curated what she called the greatest hits, a short compilation with timestamps, clear faces, clear audio. Victor slurring his words at noon while Emma asked for lunch. Victor passed out on the couch while Jake cried because he couldn't wake him. Victor on the phone bragging about bleeding me dry for support while he lived with someone else. Victor with Brittany on my couch, the anniversary necklace glinting under the lamp like a cruel joke. The subject line was clinical. Re-Hake custody matter. Evidence for review. Then we waited. It took exactly 19 hours for Peaton to call back. Not Victor, not an assistant. Peaton himself. His voice had changed. The smooth edge was gone, replaced by something careful. He said he thought we should discuss the matter more pragmatically. He suggested perhaps things had been hasty, that emotions were high, that his client might be open to joint custody. Joint. 19 hours earlier, I was a danger who needed supervision. Now I was suddenly acceptable. I told him calmly that Victor took my children without warning, filed for full custody, and demanded I see them under supervision. I told him Victor had made it clear he didn't believe in co-parenting. I said we would be filing for emergency temporary custody based on documented neglect and substance abuse. I said my attorney would be in touch. Peaton tried to interrupt, tried to slow it down, but I hung up. That's when Victor's texts started. Dozens of them. Accusations came first. The footage was illegal. I was a creep. I'd been spying on him. Then came excuses. Brittany meant nothing. He was stressed. The kids were fine. Then the threats. He would ruin me. He would tell everyone what kind of woman I really was. Finally, the pleas. Think of the children. Don't do this. I screenshotted every message and sent them to Melissa without responding. The calls spread outward like a ripple. Victor's sister Natalie called first, angry and breathless. She said Victor was crying, saying I was trying to steal the kids. I told her Victor took them and filed for full custody. I said I was responding. She said kids need their father. I said kids need a sober, responsible parent. She said Victor only drank sometimes. I asked if she wanted to see him passed out at 2 p.m. while Jake cried. There was silence, then a quick goodbye. Victor's mother, Linda, called next with a softer approach. Tears, guilt. She asked me not to take her grandbabies away. She said Victor was getting help. I told her Victor was planning to take my children and live off my money with his girlfriend. She didn't know about Brittany. I told her to ask her son about the woman on my couch. There was a long pause. Linda said Victor told them I was cold and absent. I told her I work 50 hours a week to support my family, that I'm home evenings and weekends, that I coach Jake's team and help Emma with homework every night. I told her the cameras showed that too. She cried harder. She said she didn't know. By Thursday morning, the emergency hearing was set. Victor showed up looking perfect. Conservative suit, hair done, tears ready. Brittany was nowhere in sight. Piton went first, trying to paint me as a vindictive spouse, using illegally obtained footage to punish a husband for leaving. Melissa stood and explained the cameras were in common areas of a shared home, and then said the part that mattered. Let's review what they show. The judge watched the clips without interruption. The room changed as the footage rolled. Concern replaced neutrality. Irritation followed. The judge asked Victor if he disputed the footage was him. Victor tried to explain. The judge cut him off and asked yes or no. Victor said yes. The judge asked if the man on the couch was his spouse. Victor went red. The judge asked if Victor appeared unconscious while a 5-year-old was in distress. Victor said he was tired. The judge turned to Piton and asked on what grounds full custody with supervised visitation had been requested for me. Piton shuffled papers. The judge said believing a client's version without investigation was not sufficient. Then the words landed. Temporary custody to mother. Supervised visitation for father, pending substance abuse evaluation and parenting classes. The reversal was complete. Victor exploded. He shouted that the court couldn't do this, that he was their father, that I tricked him. The judge warned him to control himself or face contempt. Victor tried to argue I didn't know the kids. I stood and answered questions calmly. I named teachers, allergies, favorite foods, small habits only a present parent knows. Victor stared. In the parking lot, he followed me, shouting that he would destroy me. He tried to slap me in front of his lawyer and missed, stumbling instead. Piton grabbed his arm and told him to stop. Victor yelled that Piton promised this would be easy. He peeled out of the lot in the BMW I paid for. That evening, I picked up Emma and Jake from Victor's parents' house. Linda hugged me and apologized. The kids ran to me, asking if we were going home. Jake said Mommy told him we were living there forever. I said plans change and we were going home. In the car, Emma asked why Daddy was mad. I asked if she thought I was mean. She said no, I made breakfast and fixed her bike. Jake said Mommy sleeps a lot. My heart cracked and set at the same time. Friday morning, the dirty tricks began. My boss called to say someone emailed the board accusing me of embezzling funds to stalk my husband. I sent everything to Melissa. She told me to document it all. Then Victor went public, accusing me online of domestic surveillance abuse. Comments poured in until neighbors and teachers responded with the truth. Saturday at 6 a.m., Victor showed up intoxicated, pounding on my door and screaming to see the kids. The kids woke terrified. I called the police. Victor failed the breathalyzer at point 12 and was arrested for violating the custody order. The local news picked it up by noon. By Monday, supervised visitation began and fell apart immediately. Victor arrived agitated and intoxicated. The visit was canceled. On the next attempt, he tried to turn the kids against me. Emma told the supervisor she saw Brittany in the kitchen in her underwear. The visit ended early for parental alienation. Thursday, Melissa called with a twist I didn't expect. Brittany's spouse had filed for divorce and wanted to testify. Heather had texts, emails, hotel receipts, and messages where Victor planned to take my house, my kids, and my money. He believed courts always sided with fathers. The final hearing was brutal. Melissa presented everything. Victor's new attorney tried to argue stress and promised help, but there was no proof. Victor took the stand against advice and blamed me. The judge asked simple questions. The answers buried him. Full legal and physical custody to me. Supervised visitation only. No alimony. House stays with me. Victor screamed and had to be removed. In the hallway, he said I destroyed his life. I told him I documented it. The kids are safe now. That was the point. 3 months later, Victor completed one sober visit. The kids were happy. He might try to get better. Or not. I'm not betting on it. What I know is this. The cameras weren't revenge. They were protection. They saved my children. And that's the only win that matters. The hallway outside the courtroom smelled like disinfectant and old paper, and everything felt too quiet after the shouting. Victor's parents were trying to corral him toward the elevator while apologizing to everyone in sight, like embarrassment could be mopped up if they said sorry enough times. He kept twisting back toward me, eyes wild, saying my name like it was a curse. I didn't follow them. I stood there with Melissa, my hands finally starting to shake now that it was over. Not fear, not regret, just the delayed release of holding myself together for weeks. "You did exactly what you needed to do," Melissa said softly. "Now go be with your kids." I drove straight to school. I didn't call ahead. I just walked into the office, signed the clipboard, and waited. When Emma came out first, backpack bouncing against her shoulders, she froze for half a second, like she wasn't sure if this was real. Then she ran. Jake wasn't far behind, shoes untied, hair sticking up in every direction. They collided into me at the same time, and I knelt there in the hallway with both of them wrapped around my neck, ignoring the stares, ignoring the principal clearing her throat politely. In that moment, nothing else existed. At home, the next few weeks were a blur of adjustment. Therapy appointments for the kids, check-ins with the school, paperwork that seemed endless. Emma started sleeping through the night again. Jake stopped wetting the bed. Little things, but they felt huge. The therapist told me kids don't always miss chaos when it's gone. Sometimes they just breathe. Victor tried to contact me more than once. Long texts about how the judge was unfair, how Melissa had manipulated things, how I'd turned everyone against him. Every message went straight to Melissa. The response was always the same. Follow the court order, complete treatment, then we'll talk. He didn't like that answer. He accused me of enjoying this, of wanting him to suffer. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to explain. Brad disappeared the moment the money and the fantasy evaporated. Heather sent me a thank you card that felt surreal to read. She wrote that I'd saved her years of lies and that she hoped our kids would never cross paths in a courtroom again. I hoped so too. The cameras are still there, not because I'm paranoid, but because I've learned that trust doesn't mean blindness. It means paying attention. My boss laughed off the accusations once the truth came out, but he told me quietly that I'd handled myself with more grace than most people ever could. That meant more to me than he probably realized. 3 months later, Victor completed one supervised visit without incident. He was sober. He brought snacks. He didn't yell. Emma hugged him cautiously. Jake stayed close to me at first, then warmed up. When the visit ended, Emma whispered, "Daddy was nicer today." I told her I was glad. I meant it. I don't want my children to grow up without their father if he can become someone safe. But I'm not betting my kids' lives on potential anymore. Some nights, after they're asleep, I sit on the couch and think about how close I came to believing his version of things. How easily I might have been steamrolled if I hadn't trusted my instincts 6 months ago. $400 in cameras felt expensive at the time. Now it feels like the cheapest insurance policy I've ever bought. We have dance parties in the kitchen again, blanket forts, homework spread across the table with pencils rolling onto the floor. Normal, boring, beautiful things. Emma told me last week, "Mom, it's quieter now. I like quiet." Jake added, "Mommy doesn't yell anymore." He meant the house, and I understood exactly what he meant. I'm still in therapy too, trying to untangle how someone I loved became someone I had to protect my children from. Maybe someday Victor will get sober and truly understand what he did. Maybe he won't. Either way, my responsibility is clear now. I didn't win a battle. I protected my kids, and that's enough.